Hey guys, might be rolling here. Quick video, story time. Had a guy ask, did I change the engine in the Beast myself or did I have a shop do it? Brother, I wouldn't recommend trying to do that yourself. That was a ton of work, putting that engine in there. I'll try to tell the story as quick as I can. I had the common fuel rail ISX 2013 ISX, and the engine ate the camshaft at 865,000 miles. Just ground it, went from okay to whoop in just a matter of like 5 miles. It just ate it, and towed it to the shop. Had to repower the load, whole nightmare. Had a mechanic put a new camshaft, new injector in there, and the truck went. That took like a week and a half. The truck drove less than 100 miles. I went down the road, put a load on it, and started heading up towards Detroit there. And then all of a sudden, going down the road, man, it just let go. And I was like, what? Something just went catastrophically wrong. So I had to call a second tow truck and tow it back to the shop. And, thinking, oh, this is going to be warranty work. Well, it was taking forever and a day. The mechanic wasn't fixing it. It was like something like, thank God the company rented me a truck to keep me running while that was it. It was in the shop for like 73 days. And I finally said, you know what, this is ridiculous. I did about 3 hours worth of research and ran the numbers and figured out this is a no-brainer. I'm done here. This mechanic he done ticked me off, So I called a towing company, told them to meet me at the mechanic shop, and I went directly to the mechanic shop, told him to gather all the parts, put them in my little trailer here. That tow truck's hooking to that truck and it's coming out of your shop. This baloney, 73 days. This is stupid. So that's exactly what I did. I towed that truck out of his shop and took it up to shop uptown there in bigger town. And they said, oh, yeah, we can change that engine over. We can do this, we can do that. We can fix the one you got. And I'm like, no, the money it's going to take to fix this engine, it's cheaper to change it, and I'd rather have the older engine anyway. So they said they were going to do that, and I went and bought an engine and sent it up to an engine builder, and he flipped her and pulled the oil pan and pulled the crankshaft out of it. I skipped a part there. The first shop pulled the oil pan and pulled the first crank cap off of it, and there was a little score mark around the crankshaft. And that scared the bejeepers out of them. They were just thinking that engine might be junk. Oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to tell this guy? So the owner of the company calls and says, hey, we're not going to be able to do that job because we're worried. We don't trust that engine. We don't know that engine. And if we do all this work and put that engine and it blows up on your way home, it'll give us a bad reputation. And I told him, guys, I don't know that engine. I bought it out of a wrecked truck. I don't even know how many miles are on it. All I know is the truck was in decent shape and it just rolled over last week. That's all I can tell you. And but they just refused, and they referred me to another shop. And that's how I found the shop that I use now. They referred me to a guy. It's kind of loud. I got a forklift running right out there. But they referred me to the guy that I use now. Good old boy. Just got a little mom and pop shop. There's 3 guys working in there. They got 2 bays and they can fit about 5 trucks in there. And just great people, and they do it just top-notch work. But yep, we can change that engine out, no problem. He wasn't concerned at all. It took, of course, this is after COVID. COVID we'd been shut down for a while, but the parts and the supply chain, everything was all screwed. But it took, once he got the truck in his hands with the engine, we shipped the engine to the engine builder, and just to go through it. And I thought, well, worst case scenario, I'll overhaul the darn thing and put a fresh motor in. So I had the tow truck come over, pick the truck up from shop 1, take it over to shop 2. I know this is getting long-winded, and if you're enjoying it so far, give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. If not, scroll away. But I'm going to finish this story. I've never made a long story short, but I've made many a short story long. But I had the tow truck tow it from shop number 1 over to the new shop and sent the engine from shop 1. I went and picked it up on my trailer and took it down to Indianapolis and had an engine builder down there, Young & Sons, name of the company. Jerry Young's the owner. Worked with them for 30-some years. Great people. You need a turbo or anything around the Indianapolis area, Young & Sons, man. They'll take, anything. Fuel pump, turbos. They rebuild it all. They're engine builders. They do it all in-house. Great people. Can't recommend them high enough. But so they took my engine down there and they pulled the oil pan off, finished pulling the rest of the caps off of it, pulled the crank, and said, man, that number one position was the only one that even had any marks whatsoever. That engine is fine. You got nothing to worry about. We ran the scopes, you know, because once they get the crank out of the way, they ran the camera down through the cylinder heads, and he says, you still got good cross hatching in your cylinder heads? He said, this engine's been overhauled recently. He said, yeah, I wouldn't worry about that engine at all. You should be fine. We'll just turn that crank and put new rods and main bearings on there and send it. And I'm like, hey, that sounds good to me, you know. So they turned the crank and got everything nice, put new rod and main bearings on the, you know, for those that don't know, that's the rod bearings are your pistons connecting rods where it attaches to the crankshaft, and then your main bearings are where your crankshaft attaches to your block. It's got little caps with little bearings that go in there, and it's so you got your main bearings and then your rod bearings. But that's when your engine lets go, the lower end of the engine, that's usually what lets go, is a rod or a main bearing, and it kicks a rod out through the side of the block and puts a nice big hole in your engine block. Oh yeah, I tore my finger up real bad earlier, so it looks like a big marshmallow with blood soaking through it. But yeah, so they said the engine was good. The first guy, he ripped that red motor out of there, got everything prepped. So start to finish, it took maybe 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, because yeah, I think it took 3 weeks. It might even have been a little longer, because the only thing that didn't line up was the fan and the shroud of the radiator. They had to order a special one that was offset like an inch, because the the N14 set slightly higher than the ISX, and it didn't line up with my radiator with this T660. You know, it's got that sloped hood, so that was the one custom part we had to get. But no, when you're switching engines, there's a company out in it's in the Northwest somewhere, Oregon or Washington. It is a great setup. You give them the serial number of your truck, the serial number of the engine that's in that truck, and the serial number of the engine that you would like to put in that truck, and that's all the information they need. They run the numbers, they've got all the computer diagrams, and they've got all the pipes, hoses, everything, and they just build a kit of everything you're going to need to swap that engine out. And that kit was about, that's the conversion computer, the electronics, the new wiring harness, that's everything you're going to need. It was like $8,000, $8,200 for that kit. But it, like I said, it was everything you need, you know, except that hub shroud didn't line up. So we were able to send that back and order a different one. But yeah, had no troubles out of the kit. They put the engine in there, and if you look on my channel, the very first video I did is called "The N14 is Alive." That was that was the beast firing up for the first time, and we were all sweating, man, wondering, is this thing going to run? Is it going to, you know, am I making a huge mistake? I was sweating bullets, because believe me, the bill was getting bigger and bigger. And when she fired up, man, you can hear it in my voice. I was stoked. I was super excited. But no, to guys out there, I wouldn't recommend changing engines. I changed the engine because I had a great truck that was paid for, and the engine nuked. So it's like, okay, it's going to cost me, you know, I think it was like $32,000 was the quote I had to rebuild that ISX. It needed an overhaul. It ate itself. So it was like 32 grand to rebuild it, and it was going to be approximately 26 grand to swap engines altogether and put an N14 Select and be E-Log exempt. Hello, that's a no-brainer, you know. You're going to spend money, you get what you want, you know. So that's the way I went. But if you're, you know, looking to buy a truck, buy a newer truck, or buy a truck to get into the business, and you're wanting to be E-Log exempt, just go buy a 99, 98, 97. Hell, them trucks, you know, they're great trucks, solid trucks, reliable trucks. But, you know, like I said, older trucks, you will have some, you know, wiring and a few things go wrong here or there, you know, miscellaneous crap. But yeah, that's kind of the story of how I had the engine switched over. But did I do it myself? Heck no. Wouldn't recommend it. So anyway, there you go. You know, just a quick story. Appreciate it, y'all. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and share the video if you would. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.